Hi folks, and welcome to the CoderDojo Athenry Modelers Notes for week 3. We left off at the end of week 2 with our lighthouse, um, and we had just started the base of the lighthouse shape where we've just got this gradually tapering shape up the side of the lighthouse. So from here now we're going to continue to build out the top of the lighthouse. So I'm going to tilt the lighthouse down so I can see the top face here, and I'm going to move to face selection mode, which is the button there, or also 3 on the keyboard will move to face select mode, and I'm going to left click to select the button at the top of the keyboard. I'm just going to switch my screencast keys on because I forgot to do that before I started recording. So now that we've got that face selected, what we want to do is just extrude it up in a very tiny amount. So E for extrude, and we just move up a very small amount, and then left click to confirm, and then S to scale it out, just a small amount, so we get this start of a little platform. Once we do that, then we can E to extrude again, and just extrude up that again to get a little sort of thickness to it. To start the next section along, we're actually going to kind of want to go in, a little like an extrusion, but we're going to go in. There's a command which allows us to create a shape inside another shape, and that's insert. And the key for insert is I. So if we tap I, I'm just going to make sure the mouse is away from the object, the face that's selected when I press I. It gives us a bit more room on the scale. So I'm going to hit I, and then I'm going to move the mouse towards the center. And you can see as I do that, that shape in the center scales in and out. So I'm going to make it certainly a good bit narrower than the body of the lighthouse base. Let's go to about there. And then I can extrude that up again with E. And that's going to give us the portion of the lighthouse where the light is. And finally, we want to put a cap on the lighthouse. So again, I'm going to hit E and extrude a very small amount here. And then immediately scale it out a small bit. And then E again to extrude it up. Now, we want to bring this in together into one point. And at the moment, I'm going to jump over to vertex select mode and just show you there are all of these points around. If I just alt select them all there, you can see, I think it'll tell you how many are selected. No, it's not doing that. But yeah, there are a lot around there. And I want to bring them into a single point in the center. So if I have them all selected, it doesn't matter whether I'm using face mode or edge mode or whatever. If I say scale and then 0, you'll see that it scales it down so that all those points are brought in together. Now those points are still individual, so if I could just manage to grab one and then hit G to move it, you'll see there's still, however, 30 points, 32 points or whatever it is there in the center, all separate. What I would like to do is merge them all into a single point. So there's a handy command for that, for merging things that are close together. So if I hit the M key for merge and then just choose the by distance, it's going to automatically merge vertices that are close together. Sorry, I need to select all first by hitting A, and then I'll do that again. Merge by distance, and it removed 31 vertices. So they were 32, and it's removed 31 of them, just leaving a single vertex. And if I now select that vertex at the top and go G, you can see if I move that now, the whole lot moves together because all of those vertices have been welded together into one. So that, I'm going to hit tab and go back to object mode, and this is our lighthouse shape complete. So I'm going to hide the lighthouse by clicking on the checkbox on the collection there, and I'm going to right click here at the bottom of the scene collection view and do new collection, and I'm going to double click on it and rename it to environment. And the first thing I'm going to do in environment is I'm going to add a new plane object, mesh plane, and I'm going to name it immediately to water. And then I'm just going to move over it and say S20, just to make it 20, scale it up by 20 to make it good and big. We just want it nice and large, so S20. Then I'm going to add another mesh called an icosphere. An icosphere is a sort of a round type shape that's made up of kind of triangles like this. and it's a good shape for what we're about to do, which is some sculpting. So I'm going to double click on this and call it Island. Island. And making sure that we have Island selected, we're going to change workspace here to the sculpting workspace. It's the third one along. The sculpting workspace is for sculpting objects, which is another way of building models in a more organic way, and it suits organic types of shapes like environment shapes and stuff. So at the moment we're on the draw brush. You can see this drop down here offers a large number of different types of brushes, but we're on the draw brush, which is the sort of the basic brush. And draw, if you move over the object, you'll see a kind of a circle. Draw pulls the faces near that brush towards it. So I'll just do it here and we'll just see the effect. So every time I click, you can see that's kind of getting pulled out. Conversely, if I hold down the control key while clicking, it pushes it back. So it does kind of the opposite. These brushes have a radius, which can be adjusted here. So the bigger it is, obviously, the more dramatic the effects it's going to have. And it also has a strength value here, which again is going to control how dramatic the effect is. So I'm just going to turn that back down a little bit. But you'll see that as we kind of stretch our island out here, because we're not getting any new geometry and we didn't have a lot to start out with, it's getting very stretched out in parts. And we would really like maybe to be able to get a little bit more detail into it in some areas. So there's an option up here called Dyne Topo, stands for Dynamic Topology, which will automatically put new faces in where we're stretching the geometry the most. And so I'm going to click that on. It always gives a warning when you do that, and that's fine because none of this applies to us, so you can just say OK. So then, as I now click here, you can see more faces getting added in. You can see, that it's no longer just one big face. And so now this gives you much more freedom to shape and pull and reshape. So what I was looking for with the island was sort of an island of two halves. One part where the houses could go, relatively flat, maybe like this, and one part then where the lighthouse can sit, sort of distinct. So I'm just kind of building that kind of two-part island that I had in mind, just by stretching this bit out. There's nothing right or wrong about this. In our session the last day, people did all kinds of different shapes, and that's good. This is a chance to be as artistic as you want to be. It's also fun to experiment with some of the other brushes at this stage. Like for this part here, we're going to raise that up again a little bit larger, maybe, and then I might try and just flatten the top of it a little bit. Haven't done that. Yeah, that might be nice for the lighthouse to sit on. Back here where the houses can go, I might like to kind of flatten that out a bit. So there is actually a specific brush for flattening. It's called the Flatten Contrast brush. So if I just maybe use that around here a little bit, it'll take some of that, it'll give us more of a bit of a plane to place the houses into. So that should be good, I think. If it's too lumpy when you're placing the houses, it's kind of hard to get them to sit in. Anyway, you keep playing with that until you get a shape you like. I'm not unhappy with that one, so I'm going to leave it. It's always a good idea to keep checking how it's doing with regard to the waterline. You don't want it to be accidentally sitting up because you maybe pulled it or sculpted it so much you actually pulled it up and out of the way. If you have to do kind of big movements on it, a good brush is the pull brush. Pull, where is it? Or grab, excuse me, grab, not pull. It's a good idea to make this big, and then you can move the whole thing very easily. A quick way to change the brush size, by the way, when you're in the middle of sculpting, you can slide it, obviously change the slider over here, but also you can hit F and then on the keyboard and then just drag your mouse and take the new shape. So that's good. So drag is nice as well for kind of sheet reshaping stuff. It just kind of lets you drag around what's already there, and you get some good shapes that way too. Again, try not to make any creases that are too tight or kind of let things fold in on themselves. There's dangerously close to making a pinch there. If you start pulling geometry through itself, it's certainly going to start getting very weird, and you're probably going to have a shape that doesn't really work. So just be a little bit careful about that. All right, I could do this forever, but I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm reasonably pleased with it. A little cave there. Okay, cool. So I'm going to return to the layout workspace here. Now, because the rest of our scene is quite low poly, I'm going to reduce this to a low poly version of it. So it's going to keep the general overall shape, but it's going to become much less kind of smooth than it is now. And I want that because I just think it's going to look more consistent with the little simple models of houses and lighthouse that we have. So there are several ways we could reduce this, but the one I'm going to use is by putting a decimate modifier on it. So with the object selected, the island object, if we go to the modifier panel here, it's the one with the little blue wrench on it, then choose add modifier and then look for a decimate modifier. Decimate will reduce the number of faces in this while trying to keep the overall shape intact. And I've tried these different methods that are available. I found the collapse one is the best for this particular application. And what you want to do is reduce this ratio down. So I'm going to just click on that and drag it to the left. And you don't see a lot of difference because we've obviously got quite a lot of polygons in there. So it's interesting how little it kind of changes as we go down. It's starting to look a bit blockier as we get here, but I really want it quite blocky, so I'm going to keep going quite far with it. And I'm kind of happy with it around there, perhaps. So I want it quite low poly. So you see the general overall shape has been kept, but it's now you can see the faces and it looks a lot more low poly. But I think this suits for what we're doing. You can leave it as a modifier, which means you can at any stage reverse it. I'm just going to hide it temporarily for a second. You see it's like it's a reversible thing. Or you can make it a permanent change if you want to by choosing the little drop down box there and hitting apply. And in this case, that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to make that a permanent change. Okay, so now we've got our island, we've got our water, we've got our houses and lighthouse. Let's bring those back. And the first thing we're going to see immediately is that the scale is way off for what we want. So just with the lighthouse selected, let's just hit S and let's start to bring that down to a size that's going to suit our island. Even that might be a little bit small, but S again. Maybe I'm going to make it around that size. And let's select the 3 houses that I've got here, or as many houses as you have. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can click one and then shift and click the other 2. Or you can do the same thing over here. You can click one and then shift, because this is a list. If you shift click to the last, it'll select all those in the middle as well. And then let's scale those down too. Just want to be careful not to turn them inside out, turn them upside down, which is what I can do if I scale them too much. They'll kind of flip over. So be careful of that. You don't want that. Scale them if you're having trouble controlling it. Scale them a bit, zoom in, and then scale them a bit more. So I want them quite small, so something maybe like that size. And I'm just going to G, Z, and just move them up, and just maybe move them out of the way over there for a bit. So something like that is going to be good. Now I want to position the lighthouse first. So I'm going to look on the side view, and I'm going to do G, and I'm going to put it up about there. That's where I want it to be, okay? But I don't know, let's say, in terms of in and out of the screen, if it's very close now, if it's too close or too far. So, but what if I position it well in this view and then switch to the next one over? Actually, it's not bad, and move it in that view as well. then I'm going to have a really good placement. It's going to be exactly where I want. So, so it's a good idea to snap into one of these views and then into another. And between the two, you're going to have, between any two views, you should have a very good idea of where something is placed. And it's easy to get there. So I have it on that rock at the end of the village. Now I'm going to again select my little houses here. Now that I see the lighthouse, I'm thinking they do look a bit small again, so I'm going to just scale them back up a small amount. And I'm going to just move them kind of to here approximately. And I would like to make some duplicates of these and rotate them a bit as I position them around. So I have 3 different types in this file. So to create a duplicate, I could either just create a straight copy, which would be a copy, and it would be completely separate from the original, or I can create a linked duplicate, in which case if I make changes to this, the linked duplicate will also get those changes. So in this case, where I'm going to want to set the materials on the original one and have all of the linked copies pick that up automatically, I'm going to use that linked duplicate option. So I'm going to go Object, Duplicate Linked, and it's going to make another little version of that house and drop it. And I'm going to do it for these two as well. I'm going to select them together with Shift, and I'm going to say Duplicate Linked, and I'm going to take those as well. And maybe we'll just have another 2 of those maybe as well. Duplicate Linked. So now we've got a few little houses around. So the next thing I'm going to do is just select each one and just to give them a little rotation just as a point of interest. They're going to look a lot cooler if they're not all like dead square. I'm just going to position them around those 3 ones with the right angles. All look a bit too close together. So we're not going to see this anyway. We're going to see this from a distance, so it's not have to be perfect. So now that we've got them kind of positioned horizontally, roughly where we might like them, we can just adjust each one vertically. So I can select each one and just do GZ, and you'll just see where it just clips into the ground a little bit. GZ. If you find the place you've picked is just kind of clipping so much that it looks bad, you can move it to another location, but I think that's going to be okay. GZ. Oh yeah, sorry, I already got that one in the right spot. That one's okay. GZ. You don't want any kind of big gaps like this. Sometimes as well, if it's kind of sticking out, a little bit sticking out, if you rotate it around Z or Z, you can just kind of eliminate the problem that way as well. GZ and GZ. Yeah, pretty happy with that. So that's our little village and our little lighthouse on it. Okay, so then we just have to save our file, save, to bring it up to the current version. So next week when we return after our break, 2-week break, we'll start putting some textures on this and lighting it and finishing the scene by rendering it out. I think we'll probably get all that done next week. So thanks everybody for coming along, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Enjoy the break. Thanks. Bye.